Hello again, friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday's Talking Town. Normally the Sunday, but obviously we played yesterday. Well, we had a game. Whether we played in it, well, we did actually play in it a little bit, to be fair. I'm of course joined as always by Matt, and we need your help in our live chat or watching on catch up. We try and reply to as many, if not all, the comments as possible. So comment for the algorithm, FTA, and of course get active in our live chat. Leave us your thoughts, your opinions, your comments. Matt, another disappointing day at the office yesterday in what has been a sorry 2025 home form. You could almost say, a little bit pathetic, dreadful, terrible, any word you want to put in there.
Yeah, all of those. Our 22 points is our worst ever points tally in a league campaign in the history of Ipswich, I believe. So that just goes to show, doesn't it? That just goes to show really what the gulf between the Championship and the Premier League. So, that's up to 3 other clubs now to bridge that. Sunderland, Leeds and Burnley, to see what they can do. We can watch that with interest. But from our own point of view, it's been really disappointing. I never thought what would we lose over 2 seasons? Was it 10 games at home in the Football League? Obviously, you've got you're increasing the quality of the opposition when you go to the Premier League. But I never thought Ipswich would finish the season with 7 home points. I thought that would be the case. If anything, I thought we'd be away where we would struggle, and our home form would be the catalyst or platform to build a foundation to try and finish 17th. But it just didn't happen. We've both been trying to mull this over. Why? I don't know.
Why?
Naivety on tactics, arrogance of McKenna to think he could go toe to toe after back to back. Maybe he had summer suitors. Did that raise his ego a bit? We don't know. We could only speculate because we don't know the answers to any of these things. But certainly, none of it works. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here with 1 win at home in the season.
No, none of it did work. We still got comments in on the match reaction show from yesterday, filmed right by my car. But we still comments about where's the plan B? How's the plan B? And we were talking as early as back as October about how we may have, we will have to change how we approach this. We'll have to change how we bring things in. That was just ahead of the Brentford game, funnily enough. A game which, when you look back on it, we should have at least got a point from. We were 2-0 up at half time, or was it 2-1 at half time? Either one.
2-2 was. We blew that 2-2.
But we were 2-0 up, weren't we? We were coasting, and then we weren't, and then we got ourselves back into the game. And obviously a mistake right at the end from memory. But we were changing up how we should approach things as early as back at as then. That was an away game. Now at home, is it naivety? Is it lack of quality? I mean, yesterday was almost a carbon copy of any game we've seen in 2025, where for large periods, Matt, I mean, to be fair, both teams, it felt like walking football. The speed of the game felt like I could have probably played.
We said it was a bit passive in moments, didn't we? In the car park yesterday, yeah.
But it was almost walking football. But we were there. We were going toe to toe with them. We were giving them a good game. And then, of course, we lose it with sloppy moments, particularly that second and third goal. Very sloppy, and that is how our season has gone. 70 minutes we've been good, but it's not a full picture, and it's a really tough division. We know that. If you could speak to a fan of the promoted 3 right now, what would you say to them? What would be your words of warning?
Don't try and play out from the back all passing football. You've got to do something. This is why Burnley and Dyche had success. They didn't follow that model, did they? And it wasn't pretty to watch. But I think to establish yourself in this division, you've got to do something that the other clubs aren't doing.
Agreed.
And you see the influence, don't you, of Guardiola comes in at City 10 years plus, won X amount of trophies and everything, and he's kind of instilled an identity of play into the Premier League, which everyone wants to emulate. And that worked very well for us in the Football League, but you have to cut your cloth accordingly. Ipswich just didn't do that. I mean, we always looked better to me when we counter-attacked, and we saw that at Tottenham. We saw that at home against Chelsea, and we saw that against Bournemouth as well. So I wish we'd just been a little bit more defensively sound and used that pace that we had in the team, be it, I don't know, Broadhead, Amari, Enciso when he was playing. Tuesday, when he turns with the ball, got a fantastic turn of pace. Just didn't see that enough, really. And, even yesterday, going back in possession, as Tony Gale said on the commentary, Ipswich going backwards in possession, pass the ball straight to Bowen, crosses it to Ward-Prowse, it's in. So architects of our own downfall there.
He had the freedom. didn't he? Let's be honest. For that second goal, particularly, Bowen.
Yeah, I mean, you've got,
Great.
I've counted, how many plays was it actually round Bowen? You've got Broadhead ball watching, Davis, Greaves, Morsey's in there as well. No one who stays there. Guste follows the run, but doesn't even put in a tackle until he shoots.
On Kayuse, obviously, Enciso yesterday was left out. McKenna, I think, McKenna said, I wanted to focus on players that were going to be here next season.
Yeah, interesting. That
so,
comment, wasn't it?
On Jens Kayuse, was that because obviously you had Jack Taylor and you had Massimo Luongo, and we'll get to Massimo in due course.
Yeah.
Really sad to see him go. Memories left forever, but we'll get to him in a second. So is that interesting that Jens Kayuse obviously was not only a part of the Matchday squad, but started after the comments of McKenna in regards to Enciso?
Yeah, interesting that, wasn't it? He let his guard down a little bit in the if you got Town TV and you watch the interview with him, he let his guard down a little bit because he said he said we said some 1 or 2 farewells to players yesterday. Now we know Massimo's going, but as you said at the top now, does that mean we're going to see some very quick movement on Delap? I think we probably are. And I think if I was a betting man, I'd probably go with Chelsea. Now they've made the Champions League. Man United didn't make it. Chelsea will need to move quickly in order to get players in this new window for the Club World Cup. Wouldn't surprise me if Delap is a part of that.
You see, I still think he'll go to Man United. Delap. I still think that would be the biggest.
Without the carrot of Champions League football.
Yeah, I still think. No, obviously it's Manchester United first and foremost, and whether they're Champions League or not, that name still carries a lot of weight.
It does. It does. Cunha's supposedly going there, isn't he? Apparently they're going to trigger that clause. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, look, his man's come through the Man City academy, but he might go to United. But yes,
you say that he's gone through the academy. Obviously, it moves him back up
to Northwest.
Of the Northwest. It puts him in familiar territory. It's a massive club, a club that is on the way, or they're going to try and get themselves back to where they were. And we always talk about players and projects and buying into dreams. That is a fairly big appeal as well, because not only do you go straight into the England squad having signed for Manchester United, could even happen without.
You said this would happen, didn't you? As soon as he leaves, he'll get in the England squad. And what did Tuchel say?
Yeah,
he'll be selected of a side that isn't getting relegated from the Premier League. Effectively, what he said, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they're only not being relegated because we've been so bad. Let's be honest. I mean, both Tottenham and Manchester United are breathing a huge sigh of relief that the bottom 3 have said, "Hold my beer, we're even worse." But you get all that gravitas, and you get to be a part of the project. And let's be honest, Manchester United, they're a bottom 6 side this year, but next year they'll be on the TV a whole lot more than any other bottom 6 side. Should be. Let's be honest, they will. They will.
And you don't think United are going to get any worse than what they've been now? I mean, even in their worst season in the Premier League, they've still got to somehow got to European finals. So yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Maybe. I mean, look, he's young, and he's 21, 22. He's got his whole career ahead of him still. Maybe he will be part of that United renaissance. But carrot Champions League football next season, to be in an England squad next season, to play in the Club World Cup, if that's something he wants to be doing wherever he is in the States. That could be right on his doorstep now if he joins with Chelsea. So I think either way, I think we'll see movement there. Yeah, no, the Guste one was interesting, wasn't it? I mean, he does his 75 minutes, whatever. It's not out the realms of possibility he could sign for us. I mean, it's not going to cost the earth, is it? 8 to 10 million. You've just seen Napoli win Serie A. So I don't think someone who's been on loan at Ipswich is going to get back into that side with McTominay's in there, and that Billy Gilmore's even over there. Remember, he was on loan. Chelsea, he was on loan at Norwich. Even now he's got a league. Now he's got a league title medal. So it's whether or not Guste wants to drop down, but let's not forget, really, he was going Brentford, wasn't he, originally?
He was.
That was that medical. You would have thought his agent will think that he can still get in another top flight club, whether it be in this country or somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be interested in seeing what happens there. Obviously, after McKenna's comments, and I'd welcome another loan move. I'm in 2 minds about dropping £10 million on him, which sounds mad, but obviously next season you've got 46 games plus you've got your League Cup and your FA Cups and all those jazz. It's a lot of games for a player that obviously has grown as the season's gone on. It isn't about his ability. He's a quality football player, a very good football player. But perhaps I'm just being a bit greedy, Matt. If we can loan Kayuse back in and then go and spend £10 million on another player, I'm being greedy. I'm being fan greedy. That's what it is.
Yeah, he's been a funny one, Tuesday. I do like him, but I just wish he was better. I mean, look, as I said earlier, he turns beautifully with the ball,
He does.
and some of his defensive stats aren't too bad in terms of he's very good at intercepting, his recoveries is good, but then as his Molesy's as well. I don't know. There just seems something missing from his game, but he was the contributory factor to my favourite goal of the season. That Bournemouth, that goal against Bournemouth. I mean, that pass down to Townsend, fantastic. I think it was Townsend. But yeah, there's just question marks there about some aspects of his game, aspects of his fitness, and we know it's going to be unforgiving, isn't it? In the football league, it's going to be 2 games a week, pretty much like you say. Then you factor in cups as well. Not sure. I personally think he's probably going to move on somewhere else.
Trevor says in 2 minds about Curry. He's a good player, but can't do 90 minutes. I'd love for Ian Close to return to Portman Road. We'll wait and see. Interesting comments from McKenna. Interestingly featured and started. So we'll see where that goes. Sam said, with the club having spent 120, 130 million and receiving barely anything, they need to sell to get money back in to spend again. I don't know if they do. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be, because obviously you're going to sell players. Like, so you've got the lap, 30 million, that's coming straight back in. You've got the parachute payments. You've got the ownership, which have already shown they will back the football club when the football club needs to be backed. New investment only, 12, 18 months ago from some new investors to join that already established partnership of Game Changer. So, I'm not necessarily knowing that if that's to be the case. I think there's probably going to be a sizable budget already, and then you're going to sell players and of course, be shopping to replace. Talking of, replacements, Alex Palmer didn't feature yesterday through illness in
the pre-match. Yeah.
So Christian Walton came in, which could be another player that McKenna's sort of alluding to there in terms of, we already said goodbye to 1 or 2 today. Daniel says Walton for me should be doing better for both the second and third goal. Can't be beaten at the near post for the second, and the third from my angle was near enough middle of the goal. I'll be honest with you, Daniel, and to the rest of the people watching, I haven't depressed myself by going back and watching the game. I normally do before I go live, but today I just, for some reason, couldn't absolutely be bothered, and I'm so sorry. That's really sorry for you, the viewership and the listenership. I'm so sorry, but I didn't, so I can't say for sure whether he should or he shouldn't. But on Christian Walton, a career, and I don't mean disrespectfully, a career number 2. He's going to want to go and play because he came here to play and be a first choice. Now, obviously, through circumstance, injury being a factor, it hasn't happened. It didn't happen. It started, then it ended. Is it time Kieran Slicker sort of stepped up to that number 2 position? Like, you almost feel if it isn't next season as a championship number 2, when? When?
Yeah, great. Yeah. I think I don't disagree with you there. He's a funny one, Walton, isn't he? He gets bought in by Cook, doesn't he? Even on his debut, he lets in 5 goals, doesn't he? Against Bolton.
Yeah,
I was like, what the hell?
As well.
Yeah. And then, of course, then he becomes the mainstay number 1, gets that injury against Luton pre-season, misses all of the championship campaign, doesn't he? Because Gladkey keeps him out. And then even this season, when he gets an opportunity, they still decided to go for a third keeper. As we said in the car park yesterday, the irony of ironies is Walton started the season. In a season where we've had so many question marks about keepers, Walton starts and finishes the season. So funny that, isn't it? But Slicker, if not now, when? I mean, it should be Palmer. Palmer should be number 1, I think, next season, and Slicker number 2. I mean, he's getting in Scotland squads. I mean, they obviously see some value there. So, yeah, absolutely. I think whenever I've seen Slicker, I mean, it's in dispatches, isn't it? We don't see him very often, but he's always looked. Don't look the tallest of keepers, but he's always looked pretty good and quite commanding in his area, and obviously can kick the ball well because he's come through that City academy where that's how you a ball playing keeper. So yeah. I think so. It's interesting. Sorry, Mike, I was going to say Sean there before I forget. Are we looking at a massive clear out? That was another thing where McKenna let his guard down a little bit in that interview yesterday, where he goes, "We'll be back to build a new team."
Yeah. Well, you're going to lose. It interested me as well, and I felt very sorry for Kieran McKenna yesterday because I was listening on the way home from Radio Suffolk, and I was listening to him answer the interviews, and it's been a long season, and it's been confirmed for a while, and I think I just felt sorry for him because he sounded weary. He sounded like a man that had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and And now that final whistle had happened, it can be a breather for him, a reset. And I think that's kind of what it means there in terms of building a new team, a reset. You know what you need the next time you come. You know what you need to get out of the division below. It's almost a soft reset, not a full reset, not a Paul Cook demolition man, get the hard hat on, but it's a soft reset. It needs to be, because you've got a number of issues squad wise before you even lose anybody, Matt. So yeah, I did feel for him yesterday, and yeah, it's interesting to say massive clear out. That depends on the market, doesn't it? Now it opens a week today, so we may know more about Delap. He's definitely going. Just cross that one off your list already.
He's got already, and he's just got to choose where he's going. Yeah.
He's got to just choose where he's going, as you say. But interesting on that one. But Christian Wharton, a good goalkeeper. I just think he wants to be number one. Kieran Slicker, still a young player. So I just feel like, well, how many games has Wharton played in actual, injury step-in? 2, 3, 4. If Kieran Slicker can't do that as a number 2 and you can focus your resources elsewhere, I think we should do that. I said to you greedily yesterday, I'd maybe shop him for another goalkeeper to be number 1 and Alex Palmer number 2. But that's greedy. That's me being a fan greedy again, and
that ain't going to happen. Palmer's done well, I think. Palmer's done very well. But as you rightly said, he was the sticking plaster to the problem that they created in the first place, which was Muric all over the shop. And, we said right at the top of the season, let's support him. Doesn't need our condemnation. But I mean, he kept making ludicrous errors. And even in the end, didn't it? McKenna lost patience with him. And of course, Walton was the keeper, wasn't he? When we actually do get the home win against Chelsea coming for that game, didn't he? Which was just after that Arsenal one. Palmer will be really good. I mean, I think Palmer's been really good for us since he come in. I don't keep clean sheet or nothing, but I mean, he's done his absolute best, I think. I mean, sometimes you're only as good as your defence, aren't you, as a goalkeeper? As Walton found out on his debut against Bolton in League One. He'll be a little bit more comfortable, I think, probably in the Championship next season. Be greedy to get another keeper in mind, I think. But I agree. Palmer Slicker seems to be the dynamic for next season. Agreed.
And I purposely left sort of Muric out of the conversation there, just because he's obviously, they say a break is as good as a change. Now he's had a break. Obviously, I think he's had surgery on the shoulder. I'm not quite sure he's had surgery or not, but I know he had an injury, didn't he? Which is why
I think. Yeah, it was his shoulder. Yeah.
So my thinking with Muric is purely and simple: get him out on loan, get him playing games, get him in a new environment in terms of new faces, new club, new targets. Get him playing, get him on form, get the player back, and see where you are in terms of your own club development when he returns off his loan period. Because we saw a little bit with Bart, didn't we? In the terms of he was Player of the Year 3 years in a row. Then we went down. Then he went on loan initially, if from memory, to Millwall. And then he refound his form. We found the Bart man we all knew. And it's kind of like that with Muric. Get him playing, because you're not going to play with Alex Palmer in goal. So get him playing, get him on form, and then see where you are as a club, and bring him back almost as a fresh face, because it's not gone well for him so far.
He'd be better off, just sort of being out of sight, out of mind a little bit, a little loan into Europe or something, into one of the Dutch league or something.
Coming back in form is a whole new mindset for fans, isn't it?
Yeah. And this, what Ipswich fans are like, oh, not him again when he rocks up in 12 months. But look, he had some, I don't want to sit here knocking Muric. He had some good games, didn't he? I mean, Brighton away, everyone was waxing lyrical about him, wasn't he? I mean, if it hadn't been for him, we would have lost that game quite heavily. As he was, we'd get the point out of it and could have won it when Delap hits the posts. It would have all been down to him, really, how well he had played. But I mean, look, it's human nature, and it's remember the negatives more than the positives. And there was a lot of negatives with him, and maybe he wasn't even comfortable playing out from the back as McKenna wanted to do. I know he had good feet and he could pick a pass, but maybe he didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. And it's also hard coming into a team that is, as we've seen all season long, not good at keeping clean sheets, not good at stopping chances, not good at stopping crosses. All of these different things. You can't find your feet. You can't settle into a new club, new environment. I know he's played in the league before, but it's still going to be brand new to him. And I just think, as a conversation this time next year, okay, right, whatever league we're in, we've got, Muric coming back. He's had a great loan spell in Holland, for example. He's kept, 12 clean sheets. He's had 4 player of the matches, things like that. It's a whole new conversation.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, let's hope for him. Let's hope for his sake that kind of works out for him in the end.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've got some comments coming in. We've got one from Eleanor, which I'll ask you, Matt. How much credit in the bank for KM if next season doesn't start well until Christmas or longer? Just very quickly answer that question from Eleanor. Thanks for the question, Eleanor.
I don't think he has that much credit in the bank with the fans anymore. I mean, look, it's if you, I'm not going to answer. I can't answer this question quickly, Ryan. Sorry, but I think there's this dynamic at play that comes out of the club, isn't it? That you don't hear on Talking Town because obviously we're a little bit more. Well, we're not tied to the club, but it's almost like this trust the. What have McKenna and Ashton been saying all season? Trust the process, etc., etc. That narrative is dead in the water now, isn't it? Because we got relegated. They spent over 100 million more than what Luton did. Finished 4 points less than what they got, and some 20 odd goals less than what Luton got. So the trust the process for me coming from Mark Ashton's mouth is gone. So to go into next season, look, I still can't. If any other club, McKenna would have got sacked. You've seen it in clubs all around us this season. And then you go back to the narrative of Jurich coming in at Southampton, and I said to you, what is the point of getting Russell Martin gone to bring Jurich in? Because once they get relegated, because it's nailed on they will, who will they be looking to bring them back? Someone like Russell Martin, as it is, they're going to get Will Steele in. And actually, the same conversation is in play for Ipswich. Had we got rid of McKenna, it was a pretty obvious to everyone other than Ipswich fans, I think, that we was going down. Then you'd be going, well, you want Kieran McKenna to bring you back. But I don't. But for me, the free pass is gone now. I said at the top of the season he had a bit of a free hit because he's done so fantastically well for us. But now he goes back into a division where he's had success, quick fire success in that division. You've floated the idea before mine. Was it a flash in the pan? We'll find out once the season kicks off next year. But I think we've only got 2 years of parachute payments because we don't get the third year, do we? Because we've only done one season in the Premier League.
Correct. And
you've got to think if Ashton is still peddling this trust the process narrative, it's to get promoted back to the Premier League as quickly as possible. But I don't want McKenna's tenure at Town to finish like George Burley's did in disappointment and being sacked. I hope he can take us back up and then go on to wherever he wants to go.
Yeah, I think we've got to remove that from our mindset. Frankly, we are the bookie, one of the bookies' favourites. As we should be.
It's Paddy Power, yeah.
It's a whole new ball game because you're coming down as a parachute club with the pressure, with the noise, with Sky moving your fixtures about, particularly in the first 10 games, because you're going to be a worldwide name, having been in the worldwide eye in the Premier League. It's a whole new ball game from coming up to the upper level, as we did beforehand. But I don't think you're wrong in the sense of if we have the same sort of year this year. In the next Premier League year, should we get there, I think a change probably may have been made because the form, particularly at home, hasn't been. I mean, Magilton, for example, at home form, was it a home or away form? Almost cost. Well, it did cost him his job, didn't it? Where we were brilliant at home, but were terrible away. Do you remember that?
Away, wasn't it? Yeah. Get away wins, didn't it? Yeah.
That was one of the sort of the noises around that time from memory. But I do think you're right. In the sense of if the form this year is what we look like next time we're in the Premier League, should we be in the Premier League, then a change may well be made. You answered another question in the chat there, but I don't know if you saw it. But yeah, Monty says, I don't believe it's the be all end all to be promoted again immediately. Build again. What's the rush? You've answered that. It's the parachute money, isn't it? You've got 2 years before you end up being another mediocre mid-table championship side, like certain ones up the A140. Other clubs, obviously, they are in that middle pack where the money runs out, and then you're suddenly having to sell your best players to bring other players in to try and kick yourself on, right? Because that's what's going to happen in 2 years' time. So you've kind of got a 2-year window, like Leeds had.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we talk about the gap going from the Championship to the Premier League. Think about now we're in the other side of the coin of that. The gap from the Premier League back into the Championship is also huge, which is why you've seen Burnley bounce back straight away. Obviously, Sheffield United couldn't do it. A little bit unlucky against Sunderland. Only got themselves to blame, Martin, as we said. They should have cruised that game again at Wembley on Saturday. So they shot themselves in the foot a little bit there. But Ipswich are going down in a great position financially. We've still got Kieran McKenna, had great success in the Championship previously, so we are in a great space. Of course, the vicious circle of this is that do Ipswich fans really want to go back into the Premier League? Because all we heard yesterday and in the comments today is, thank God that season is over. So it's caveated by we'll go back into the Premier League as long as we can compete. But we've seen time and time again, season after season, promoted clubs from the Championship can't compete in the Premier League, which is why I think you've got tactically have to make such a huge change, or you bring a more experienced head in. And Ipswich didn't change their tactics, and they were too tied to the McKenna identity to make a change. So
yes, exactly. We've got another question in the chat from Daniel. How much do we get each year in parachute payments? Do we know? Well, just a quick Google search, an AI overview, as Google likes to do these days. In the 24-25 season, relegated Premier League clubs received 49 million in parachute payments, a 10% increase from the previous season, where it was 44 million. So that's the first year. 49 million. I don't know if it's going to go up at all. These things aren't sort of not known by me anyway, but 49 million still, that's a big chunk of money to go and improve your squad. And one of the areas we really do need to improve, we said about it for months now, is that midfield too. And I think a much improved midfield too will make that back four look so much better. They'll have less pressure, less runners, less everything. Because again, yesterday you saw it. To get that second goal, no midfield around him, and I just think midfield too will make the back four look better. Do you not feel?
Yeah. So then you're answering your own question from earlier. Then why would you want Cahuste then? Because in that second goal yesterday, neither Cahuste or Morsey put in a challenge on Bowen, do they? Which is why I say I quite like Cahuste. I just wish he was better. There's aspects of his game I just think need vastly improving, which is why he probably joined Ipswich in the first place. Why Brentford pulled the plug on the deal, don't they? But no one else came in for him, as far as we know. Who those two midfielders would be, I don't know. As we keep saying, that's the midfield that if you do return as champions or win the playoffs or finish in second, you get back into the Premier League. You want those two to be the foundation for a successful Premier League campaign. I'm talking successful being 17th. If we were to get back there again.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because do you go a more experienced head, somebody like who comes in, gets you promoted, then you go and address the situation when you're back in the Premier League? Should you obviously make it back to the Premier League, or do you go somebody that in a year or two's time will be wanting to make that step up to the Premier League anyway? And then of course you're kind of in the same position as you were with Jack Clark or other players we brought in this year, where they are too good for the Championship, and then you've got to try and get them up and running the Premier League and all of those teething issues. It's interesting where they go, because obviously Massimo Luongo, who we'll come to, AD, I know you're waiting, I'm so really sorry, we'll bring you in a second. Massimo Luongo, for example, obviously arrived, having not played for Middlesbrough, no expectations, leaves with a lifetime of memories that he's given us fans, and we can't thank him enough for it. He's been a fantastic servant for the football club. But his strongest part of the Championship season was his ability to read the game. He didn't need to be athletically 23, 24, 22 in the sense of how he moved. He could read it like it was an early learning early learning library set. He was always in the right position at the right time, 2-3 yards ahead of the play because of his football brain. So do you go that route again? Do you go with the athletic, younger players that are developing? It's interesting where they go with it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think what you say about Luongo there could be done. Could be the same. Could be said for Morsey as well. And I think Morsey did start the season really well, and he kind of, as we've said previously, I think after that kind of Man United game, there was a bit of a tail off, and no one's been great in 2025, have they?
Let's not forget, you called him.
Well, he was yesterday. West Ham, wasn't he? But yeah, certainly in the early part of the season, his stats, his chances created, I think it is, something like that, all key passes for Morsey. I don't know off the top of my head. He's still in the top 25% of midfielders in the Premier League of that stat, but I think that's probably more indicative of how he started the season rather than ended it. I think certainly that first half of the season, because Ipswich haven't been good at all in 2025, other than maybe Bournemouth away. But yeah, Luongo and Morsey were just a great combination, and we need to replicate that again. But how that looks, I don't know. What the makeup of that is, I don't know. And we've come up against some very physical midfielders, haven't we? Like Wolves, for example. Bought out the French leagues and stuff. Ipswich probably needs to be looking in that kind of market to have the continuation into the Premier League. I think physicality for me. We're quite a small team in the Premier League, aren't we? Even that. I think when I was listening to the commentary of the game at Goodison, they were saying Ipswich. That was on Radio 5. They're going, Ipswich have got such, other than Delap, have got such a small team. I just think probably the physicality needs to increase. That kind of rules out Cameron Humphreys, doesn't it? On that kind of model, but we'll see where he plays next season. But look, Luongo and Morsey haven't got the height, have they? They're just physical. They read the game well. And where Morsey had a lack of legs, as did Luongo, like you rightly say, they could read the game and that gives you an extra yard, doesn't it?
Yeah, it came so easy to him, particularly Massimo. It came so easy reading that game and just putting yourself in the right place at the right time to do the job and be spectacular with it. And it's really sad to see him depart. Obviously every club has to evolve and every player, eventually has their time at a football club, but it's always particularly this one, really sad moment, and I don't often stand to applaud, but yesterday I stood to applaud when he came on the field. Interesting.
It was such a surprise, wasn't it? His second spell at Town was such a surprise, wasn't it? Because the deal come out of nowhere. He hadn't been playing at Middlesbrough at all, had he? He'd been playing their reserves. We were like, what the hell are they bringing him in for? But I mean, I can knock Kieran a little bit about not being very good this season and being out of his depth. That was a great piece of management to bring him in because, like you rightly say, catalyst to finish the League One campaign strongly, and great partnership with Moulsey into the Championship to get us to where we are now. So, there we go. Interesting. Gary Law says there we need a physical German striker up top, Matt. Well, I mean that Fulkrug who was playing for West Ham yesterday. I remember seeing him in the Euros, thinking that's the kind of player we could do with. But of course, he goes to West Ham because they're just in a better position to play Premier League wages than what we were. But certainly he would have been a good purchase. So I agree. But
that would be a big departure from our current recruitment strategy, where we've not, I mean, Karius obviously came from Napoli, so that's really the first look into the continent, isn't it? From us in the last couple of years under our recruitment strategy. Is it the sign that we're starting to do that, or was it a case of the deal fell through with Brentford? It kind of fell in their laps. We'll take him on loan off your hands, no problem. We don't know, but it's one area we've seen reluctant to really look at and bring players in from, isn't it? Really, I mean, other than Karius, you wouldn't find it. It's not being a part of the strategy.
No, I mean we've done it previously, haven't we? Whether it be Joel or McCarthy, I can't remember, but you got someone like Kevin Brew come in, complete unknown.
Love Kevin Brew,
anonymous name, but was good. Your favourite Indoor.
Yes.
That's the kind of player we need, actually. When I talk about that kind of physicality, Indoor would be in that kind of Wolves side at the moment, wouldn't he? He kind of would fit in there. Anyone who wears a headband gets the thumbs up from me. Someone from that ilk, I think. But yeah, I mean, certainly Ipswich we've said it before, haven't we? The recruitment is weird, isn't it? They're reliant on a system that Brighton have seemed to have pitched out to the market. And then you get into the Premier League and Brighton shut that door to us, which then probably means we've defaulted to this kind of Championship players, the cream of the Championship, step up into the Premier League. My question is, why aren't Ipswich replicating what Brighton are doing within their own four walls at Portman Road? It seems odd to me. It's really weird.
Yeah, and also, no one's questioned it. In terms of, I've not heard a question put forward to the football club. Now, I know, obviously, I think most times we've seen Ashton this year, it's been in terms of the club's media. So, you're not going to have the opportunity to ask him questions from some journalists there. But I've not heard a question from outside, from anybody this year where it said, it's been reported you couldn't use the Brighton model. Yeah. What steps have you made in order for that not to happen? Because obviously what you don't want to do is now just go, right, we're in the Championship. Excellent. We'll buy that package off your Brighton for another season. You get promoted and then you're in the exact same position you were.
Yeah. It's ludicrous, isn't it? It's cheap.
The last time. So have we made steps? What have we done? I just would like to know. It's curiosity. Yeah. I know they're not going to tell us, but it's curiosity.
Exactly. I mean, Sam Howard here. Completely agree. Looking to Europe and South America. Well, I mean, look, Brighton seems to have using this software to nail down the cream of talent in South America, don't they? I mean, it seems to be a conveyor belt there. You're not seeing anyone else go into that market as much as they do. Just off the top of my head. It's interesting to see how that develops in the future. I mean, certainly two players that have had impact have come from South America at Town the last 2 seasons, haven't they? Sarmiento and Enciso.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Sarmiento, obviously, that was a loan
from Brighton.
From Brighton, yeah, absolutely. Yes. We'll see where that goes. All right, I'll bring AD in. AD, welcome in. What's your thoughts this afternoon? Sorry, I kept you waiting. Stowmarket legend.
Hi, AD.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hiya.
I have my coffee at the ready. So I wondered whether we had a new feature on Talking Town of the coffee club. But
yeah, memories.
I've been waiting so long. I might have to get myself another coffee. Really, a stone cold. But
sorry, AD. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
It's actually rather like Town's season at the start, that was all very nice, but we got to the bottom and it's rather it's all gone stale, all gone cold. But no, it's it really has been a frustrating season, isn't it? There is sort of times when you've asked me to come on, and we've had all the technical issues and that. And on hindsight, at times, I'm glad that the technical issues happened. And of course, that has happened on the pitch as well. Actually, with the town's technical issues as well. It just hasn't worked. But I thought that I would just share a few thoughts that I shared on social media last night. I had only planned to do one line actually when I started it on social media, but it all came flooding out. It's almost going to a counsellor, really. Let's hear all your problems, or actually go and to see Freddie.
Yes,
sponsored by Freddie.
Big, yeah. I'll plug it now if you don't mind.
Yeah, and the number is. And the
number 01449 613 633. Don't live life in pain. Give Freddie a call. Stowmarket Osteopaths. 01449 613 633. Do you obviously go and see Freddie, right?
I go, and also my wife goes now as well. Swears by it now.
There you go. We're spreading the gift of Freddie.
I actually think that all the fans actually should go and sort of just get rid of all their pains and thoughts and just sort of relax for the summer now. But I will share my thoughts if that's all right, if I've got time.
Of course you have. The floor is yours, sir. The floor is yours.
Okay. Oh, well, as far as the Premier League season is concerned, it's a wrap. Yes, we achieved so much, perhaps too soon, in 2 previous years. This season, sadly, has not been good at all. I've enjoyed with others many great away days, not what's been happening on the pitch. What have I enjoyed is the great camaraderie that is amongst the town fans who regularly travel up and down the country supporting our team. You see a lot of familiar faces who over recent years have become friends. Why do we do it? It's because we support our club through the downs and as well as the ups. I feel the players are very appreciative of the commitment of each and every one of the travelling fans, and of course at home as well. Not one game goes by without the players and fans come together at the end of each match and show their mutual appreciation. As we've come to find out, life in the Premier League has been a rude awakening of just how far the gap is between the 2 leagues.
Correct.
Time for us as a club to reboot and go again to life back in the Championship.
Absolutely. Yeah, can't argue with any of that, really. Can you, Matt?
Good words, though. Good words, those, AD. I mean, look, never lose sight, and you've got this, and this is why Martin started talking down in the first place. Never lose sight of that community aspect.
No,
because you can never. My dad used to say to me, "You can't control what's on the pitch, can you? You got no play on that, but you can still make it into a good occasion, like you do, AD, with on the coaches and all that kind of stuff. That camaraderie of community, which we hope we replicate on here as well."
Yeah. And that's one of my favourite things, in terms of win, lose or draw, after the game, at the statue, seeing familiar faces, catching up with friends, talking about the game. It is free therapy. And, obviously, yourself comes along. You've got Coxie. We've got Coxie who comes along, not seen him in a while, but I hope you're well, Coxie. You've got Colin, Craig, and Craig's wife. It's a good community when you see different faces. Obviously, Mike D came up yesterday, Matt, and gave you some stick about the Sam Morsey chance creation moment, comments after his moment yesterday. But it's just that's what it's about, isn't it? That community.
People you might see on Discord. Mike Wood's been another one, but you don't actually see in front of the camera, do you? They'll be behind the camera or chat to us before we go on air. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, AD, it doesn't really matter what division Ipswich could be in. We could all be in League 2. We'll probably still be sat here and going to the games regardless, really. It doesn't really matter, does it? Division at the end of the day.
No. I often have actually remarks at me, why the heck do you do it? I said, well, I'm in a fortunate situation. I'm now retired and I can actually go, but that was always my dream, actually, just to follow town up and down, and I managed all the home and away virtually for the last 3 seasons. The first actual home game I was in Singapore, watching it with a whole
You
load
were
of
there.
town fans in an Irish pub.
Oh,
Yes,
with Kate.
I remember.
With Kate
I
Riley.
remember. I remember.
And that seems long ago, but
Yeah.
it was nice actually to meet up with Kate, and she's actually been a contributor on sort of this pod as well. And it's great. They had a great bunch of people there, and it sort of just proves, that however hard things are, Town as a club, and as a result of our form of actually getting up to the Premiership, our our team has sort of come up, and also the actual following, to support the club, and sort of to have actual the kick-off time at midnight, as we did it in sort of Singapore, and sort of having to find a taxi home, but I was actually sorted out with a free taxi by one of the supporters as well. You see, so full credit to them. See, so that was good. So yes, I will be there through up or down, and as I said earlier, we reboot and we go again to life back in the Championship.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Actually, with Talking Town, you're right, Matt. Community is a big part or a big heart. Actually, it's right at the heart of why we do it. And I know if I go to Leeds or anywhere, there's going to be a town fan that I've met through here. I talk to regularly. Amy, Victoria, Vicky, for example. You've got Stephen Parry. You've got Kate in Singapore. There, AD. You've got a community of friends, and it's not just the people now to the left or right of you or sitting behind you that are part of your family because you've sat near them for so long. It's now a wider community, and we're there. Rain, wind, shine. We are there.
Frank from Holland.
Frank from Holland, the legend that is
good old Frank.
Yeah.
Good old Frank.
AD, before I let you go, if you could choose one destination for Liam Delap, where would it be and why? Make your pitch to him. If he's watching and he's got all these advisors around him, this is AD Crouch, the Stowmarket legend. If you could pitch to him directly, speak to him, make it, AD. Where should he go? Advise Mr. Delap.
Oh, talk about being thrown in the deep end.
What we do, AD. What we do.
Obviously, I would love him to stay, but
that ain't happening. So don't even attempt.
No, it's not sort of happening. There's obviously plenty of clubs, looking, all obviously the scouts and the managers and everybody else. They got all these statistics, so they can go online, and everything, and find out all the information. It's see, he could go anywhere. But that would be nice actually for him to stay in the Premier League. I heard that Chelsea was mentioned, and also Manchester United. Really, isn't no, but yeah.
Newcastle, maybe? Newcastle.
Everton. Harps is Everton. Look, Everton play weekly. New stadium, exciting new beginning.
I think then, okay, if we go for that, we go for Everton. We go for Chelsea and Newcastle. Everton and Chelsea because he will still be wearing a blue shirt, and Newcastle for the obvious connection with Town.
Yeah, but he's not going to play at Newcastle, is he? With Isak there, he's not. He's going to be a player off the bench.
Isak stays. Who knows if Isak stays, man? Could go Arsenal somewhere.
Well, he could. We could. We'll see. All right, AD, anything else before I let you go? Have you got anything else you want to say, or have you come and you're done?
No. For anybody who's been actually thinking and thought sort of through the actual season about actually coming on live, yes, it's sort of easy to hide actually behind the sofa sometimes, isn't it? Really, but
yeah,
it's easy to sort of hide. But come on, actually show and sort of actually come and actually see us after the game at the Sir Alf Ramsey statue.
Yeah,
it's it's a hive of activity at times, and sort of actually sometimes actually people can't get away fast enough. But yes, I think that's it. Yes, so we'll yes, that's the end. See you all next season.
Excellent.
Up the town.
Up the town, AD. Look after yourself.
Good one, AD.
Okay.
See you soon.
All the best. And we've got a comment from Flat that says, "Stop this talk of promotion and title challenges. We need to win a game for sake," says Flat.
Yeah.
No,
Well.
Flat. No, Flat. Look, Sheffield United last year, if they played 22 men, couldn't keep a clean sheet, went down,
true.
finished with 90 points. Now, I know they lost in the playoff final. Congratulations to Sunderland, but they still had 90 points and made a playoff final. Burnley.
I'm staggered they lost that playoff final, as I said earlier in the show. Staggered. I mean, it was just they got sucker punched in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. Burnley lost a number of players in the summer, sort of rebuilt, had 100 points. Leeds have been competitive for the last 2 seasons, albeit they've only just gone up, but they've still been a side that's been there or thereabouts for 2 seasons. Southampton came down, went straight back up. Leicester came down, went straight back up. Doesn't mean it's given, of course. But when you look at the squad as well, Matt, when you stop, breathe, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You've got a Golden Glove winner in goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got Jack Clark, who this time last year everyone was raving about and saying was too good for the Championship. Yeah. You've got Nathan Broadhead, who yesterday again did Nathan Broadhead things. Great goal. Great goal. You've got Sammy Smodics, this time last year, Championship's top goal scorer.
Yes.
Connor Chaplin, who we've seen in the Championship, makes things happen. You've got Amari, if you keep Amari. Even if you don't keep Amari, you've still got Ogbene, who we saw flashes. And if you look over his history, his career has been a good player. You've got Wes Burns, who is a fantastic player. You just stop, breathe, and look at the riches you've got for a minute. Now, and of course, you're going to see some players leave. That goes without saying. But still, you're going to, there's still some quality within the ranks.
On paper, there's quality there. Not forgetting Leaf, who is the Championship assist king. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, look, whilst you can say like it's really difficult for clubs to bridge the gap from Championship to the Premier League, as we said earlier, when you are coming down from the Premier League into the Championship, you've got a big advantage with a Premier League squad. All right, not quite as it couldn't do the business to stay in that division, but you're still coming down with some quality individuals, coupled in with your parachute payments and all that other stuff, and whatever sales will be garnered from selling Delap, etc. Yeah, Ipswich are in a great position, which is why Paddy Power have got us as title favourites at the moment. But you've got to do it on the pitch. You've got to do it on the pitch.
Of course, everything happens on the pitch. But this time last year, Matt, Liam Delap was not even a name. And nobody in our chat was talking about. No town fan was saying, do you know what we need next in the Premier League? Is going to get us 12 goals? It's Liam Delap.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody was saying it. And if they say they were, I want to see the proof. Because I don't remember anyone saying Liam Delap as a name. That's what football's like.
Did so Amari Hutchinson. No one knew who Amari was really when he came in from Chelsea.
Absolutely.
Now everyone's going to get the handkerchiefs out if he leaves, aren't they? So,
but I still don't see anybody dropping £35 million.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's a really good point. That is a significant amount of your transfer budget, isn't it, on that player? But Semenyo or Clivert leaving Bournemouth could trigger that. We'll wait and see.
But did you? We've seen Bournemouth, we've seen Brentford, we've seen West Ham, obviously yesterday. Have you at any point watched the game and thought, do you know what, that player there is a cut above the team he's playing with, and would fit really well as a starter? Because that's what it is. 35 million. That's kind of starter money still for a lot of Premier League clubs. He would, like yesterday, would he start in West Ham's side if they dropped £35 million on him?
Well, that Somerville seems to be in and out of that side, doesn't he? Look at the season he had with Leeds, very similar to Amari in that respect. And he's been in and out of that side, hasn't he? At West Ham. I think probably I think Amari would go to a club like with Bournemouth, for example. There's no sort of huge names there. Ditto Brentford. You fit into that 11 as a bit of a unit, really. And I think that's probably what would happen with Amari. But we'll wait and see if we can keep him. Brilliant, because I doubt Enciso is going to be back. I think Amari could be an Enciso style Cavalier character in the Championship, having done it once already in his first season there. He'd rip it up, I think. Yeah.
No, I am not doubting Amari's ability. He is a fantastic player, and he's got so much potential to be even better than what he is right now. And he's a good player, and we've proved in the Championship, and we've seen it through instalments this year. What I'm saying is he a £35 million player? I just don't think so at this point of his career. And
That's
that's still a significant amount of money for
Yeah.
a fair amount of Premier League clubs. Now, if you said to me, Newcastle, Champions League team, 35 million, going to bring a player in like Amari who's got room to develop, can contribute off the bench. Yeah, I'd buy that a little bit more. Perhaps Aston Villa, who, again, off the bench, a team moving back toward the Champions League, who, by the way, they should be in the Champions League, but, you know, that's a conversation for different days. VAR, referees, you know. I can buy that a little bit. Yeah, off the bench, growing as a player. But, you know, a team like Brentford, a team like Bournemouth, I know they have European football, etc., but, you know, it's still a significant amount of money. It's still a big amount of money to them football clubs because they don't spend money like that historically. You know, it would be one of their record signings. It's a big money.
But I mean, Brentford got burnt this season, didn't they? With Eagle, came out of Brazil, didn't they? And he comes with an injury, and barely played for him, and they dropped 33 million on him. I think what was that? Was it Rob there had that comment? The hardest thing about the start of next season, the complete lack of momentum we have. We need to overcome that and start fast. Absolutely, that's huge. We said right at the very start, one home win all season. We've got to make Portman Road a fortress again. It's probably easier said than done, given the losing mentality mindset we've had all season. So I do agree with that.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. It's difficult for any relegated side, though, isn't it, to come out, you know, of the Premier League because you're relegated for a reason, right? And that's kind of where the fixture list has got to be kind to us. You know, if you look back at Burnley, for example, they started at Blackburn, they went to Sunderland and they lost. They had 1 point out of 2 games. Then they played Cardiff. They had Luton, who obviously got relegated in the end.
The Luton game,
you know, Oxford, Portsmouth. Now these are all hard teams, but the fixture's got to be a little bit kind to you. In the sense
well, we didn't have that luck. You're right, mate. I was going to say that we didn't have that luck in the Premier League, did we? Because look how we start the season against the champions, and in Manchester City finish third. The dynamic of our season could have changed had the fixture list been different. Supposing you start with Fulham at home. We played very well against Fulham, didn't we? With all the momentum on opening day, we could have easily have won that. And then maybe we go to Southampton after that, where we couldn't beat Southampton in 2 games, could we? Had the dynamic of the fixture list been slightly different, it might have just given us that little bit more confidence that then would have bred the momentum to actually turn some of these draws that we saw into wins, but we'll never know. But
no,
I don't think the fixture list is going to be kind to us in the Championship. I'm pretty certain it'll be nailed on. We'll play someone like a Wrexham or someone on a Friday night or Sunday lunchtime or something for the TV audience, for that TV audience.
Now, we don't know what their transfer strategy and what their recruitment will be like, but on paper, you've got to say that would be on paper. We don't know what the recruitment's going to be like. That would be a kind start. A team being promoted, like a Charlton, being promoted, you coming down, that would be a kinder start than perhaps a derby, which is full of emotion, or a relegated side like Southampton, or a Coventry who finished inside the playoffs. Now, I know we beat them comprehensively in the FA Cup, but that's the FA Cup. This is a whole new ball game, etc., etc.
Yeah.
You just got to hope that, but if this is kind, you can build your own momentum up pretty quickly. And you are right in what you say. You know, I remember back to those fixture list shows. You know, we were saying, oh, it's good to kind of get them out of the way nice and early. But actually, maybe in retrospect, Matt, riding that wave 2, 3, 4 weeks longer maybe would have set us up for perhaps hitting 30 points. I'm not going to go too high with my ambitions here with 40 points.
Just beating Luton would have been nice. 27.
Yeah. You know, we'll just never know. We'll never know. But
we never know.
There are green shoots in terms of the players you've got still available. You know, Smolix, I don't necessarily see him going anywhere or interesting Premier League sides. That's a very good Championship player, top goal scorer, intelligent movement. Look, you know, so I'd say take a breath and just look at the squad on paper and think you're going to lose players, but you've already got a budget to bring players in, and you're going to replace the players you lose. So,
plus, Ipswich in a great position to, you know, you lose players. Ipswich is still in a great position to play Championship wages. And if McKenna's still there, I think he'll still be a pull for players that who would have seen what he's done over the last couple of seasons in the Football League. He'll be a pull for players to come in there as well. I mean, look, that's the reason why Amari and Delap and the like probably signed to begin with, wasn't it? They'd seen what Ipswich had done. Amari had been part of that journey. Delap saw it from the outside. Everyone, McKenna's stock was sky high at that time, and that's why they all joined, wasn't it?
Louis says, I'd like to see Muric given faith for next season. Our metrics as a team drop when he's not playing, has a much higher ceiling than Palmer. Was Championship team of the season last time, says Lewis.
No, he's got to be Murish's agent there, surely. I mean, no one is saying this. Palmer's going to be number one next season. I'll be unless he gets injured. Fingers crossed he doesn't. I'll be gobsmacked if he ain't number one next season.
James Carr, Rick, someone about breaking transfer record and spending £2 million, not remotely in our position. Yeah, look, it's all going to be played on grass. That's the beauty of football. You know, all things are even until you start playing games. And
Paddy Power got Wrexham finishing mid-table, I think, at the moment. I mean, that's still an unknown quantity, isn't it? They've done really well to get promoted, successive promotions out of the non-league. It's a bit of a different story once you get just outside of the Premier League, but we'll see. They seem to be targeting. They've got quite an aging squad. They seem to be targeting more veterans as well. Was it Kearney out of Fulham? They were looking. He's what, 33, 34 on big wages. That doesn't seem particularly. Well, it's the opposite to us. It's not that kind of sustainable growth player trading model there, is there?
What you want to start with is a mid-table team. The team that finished mid-table last season, you know, that don't have momentum themselves, perhaps haven't had a great in terms of marquee signing arrive. So the fans aren't exactly going into it going, oh, you know, we could do something this year. Because obviously at Wrexham, if you go to Wrexham opening day of the year, that momentum wave we talked about is happening for them right now. Same as Birmingham, same as Charlton, you know, as well. Whereas an Oxford, who've been promoted, finished just above the relegation zone, you know, perhaps haven't had a marquee signing. That may be a little bit more because it's not so much a huge euphoric emotional moment of. Do you know what I mean? So picture list is interesting, and we'll be covering it live on Talking Town when it comes out. But we are done for the day. Don't forget, we are partnered with the Anglian Air Ambulance. If you want to help save lives, of course you do, and have the chance to win £1,000 every week, play the Anglian Air Ambulance Lottery. By playing with just £1 each week, you are helping to keep their yellow helicopters flying. The Anglian Air Ambulance Lottery creates 18 winners every week with prizes ranging from £50 to £1,000. Over 18s only. T&Cs apply. Link is in our description, and it does work now because I went through it this morning and made sure it did. Please, whatever you do, gamble responsibly. But yeah, I think we're back next week where we're going to go through the whole squad and discuss keep, sell, or release, I guess, or whatever the other third option could be. So join us for that. We'll let you know when that is. Subscribe so you never miss a show. And Neil says, mid-table team, Gov. What, like Norwich? No, not quite what I was thinking there. Not quite what I was thinking. Too emotional, too early. That's my. You
never get these derbies, do you? Right on the off. Too hard to police on the opening day of the season, I should imagine.
Obviously, Manning going there, Matt.
Surprising, but I mean, he's from Norwich, but obviously he's got Ipswich connections. But that, I mean, that's
number 2.
Yeah, obviously, George Hurley's son-in-law, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, interesting one, that, isn't it? Sideways move for Manning, that for me. You know, no parachute payments there. It's going to have to be forced to sell Borgia signs. Josh Sargent, maybe a couple of others. Interesting, but
I wonder if they have to. I mean, they've got their own investment group from America coming.
Milwaukee Brewers baseball owners. Yeah,
are they going to have to sell those players? Will they? You know, it'd be interesting to say. You say sideways. If you go by the league table, it's a backward step. Just by league table position.
True.
Which tells me, I don't know what it tells me. I said to you last night, I don't know what it tells me in terms of how big or small the Bristol City budget will be this year, or how big or how big the Norwich budget will be. I can't work out what it tells me about the team's ambition.
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
It's an interesting move because obviously I know he's from Norwich, and obviously I wouldn't welcome it, but he may welcome returning back to Norfolk. Just so I don't want to live in Norfolk, just to make that clear. But is it that much of a pull that you'd leave a top 6 side if the budget? Interesting. It's all those different.
There's a dynamic there we obviously don't know about, but he's done in very hard circumstances in his family life. He's done a great job at Bristol City, and of course they've never made it to the Premier League, have they? So it'd been nice to see them. But I mean, look, fair play to him. And if he goes toe to toe with McKenna next season, he did very well at MK Dons when he was there.
Did he take a point off this in the fog?
That was
was that Manning?
Was he the Oxford? I don't
he was Oxford manager for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Can't
remember. All I can remember is the fog of that game. I can't remember anything else.
It's like in McKenna.
I think it was Carl Robinson was the Oxford manager that day. I got that in my head.
Right, you're right. And I tell you what returns next year: fan forums, bottle openers, car park spaces.
15 quid in the car park. It's a disgrace.
It's not our responsibility. It's
well, actually, as you discovered yesterday, Martin, you actually paid £15 10p, didn't you? You had to pay a 10p convenience fee. of paying on your app.
Convenience fee. I've paid on my app, done all the clicking myself, inputting
Yeah.
my card. What's convenient for you? Like, where's my
Yeah.
10 pence reduction for convenience fee?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's like these ticket companies that stick on the convenience fee. Who's it convenient for? Like, you've done nothing in this process except host a web page.
I've got him started, everybody, now. The show's going to go on an extra half hour.
Drives me up the wall. Right, I'm going to go now. And I'm luckily got some padding here. I can just, when I'm buying tickets, just, But anyway, right, we're done. We're dusted. This man here is Matthew Phillips. I've been your host, The Gov. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care. See you soon. All the best. God bless.